January 28, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E futures mini on 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. Very choppy in the pre-market, sold off on the open, rallied in one big leg, kind of choppy here, consolidation area here, then rallied, another consolidation, kind of small rally, and bump up. So almost looks like a choppy sideways stair step up. I drew the charts today. I did play with the idea of maybe looking for really big channels to help capture all this price action. And the closest one I got was probably this one, but it didn't really help out, especially, by the time you get a third confirmation here, you're not really even using it as a guideline because the channel is really big. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it for now. I took a total of one trade today. It was profitable. And there was actually two additional trades that I thought were actually really good setups. Is this one, this is a higher low. There's a second entry short here. I'll get to them. There's only one piece of economic data that might have moved the market, and it came in at around 7 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is about right here. It didn't really cause too much of a reaction. I mean, you could argue and attribute that this rally up was due to the CB consumer confidence, but in my opinion, it didn't really move the market all that much. Tomorrow will be a different story. Tomorrow is the FOMC rate decision, which will come out at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard. And then Fed Chair Powell will come out and give some colored commentary at 11:30 Pacific Standard. So that should be kind of interesting. And usually the couple hours leading up to the announcement at 11 o'clock is going to be really slow price action. So I don't anticipate seeing a lot of good trades necessarily, or it just could be very slow until the announcement comes out. So this is what the pre-market looked like. Pre-market was just whipsaw. I drew this trying to just see if this was kind of a big guideline channel. But again, it doesn't really help. You have this one big orange leg down, bounce this green leg up, then another orange leg down, bounces out around, and then it opens. And immediately on the open, it starts selling off. Right here, I do see a potential second entry short setup. It looks like it's two legs up. There is a rejection off this yellow down channel, which I had drawn, and it was confirmed at this point. So this is actually a fourth touch. I like that it was two legs up. Didn't really break the yellow channel. I mean, it kind of broke it. It's a rejection off the top. It would have been perfect if it had a good touch on the EMA and rejected down. I wasn't too fond of this signal bar. I mean, it is pretty bearish, but if it closed the low and it was red, then I'd be more confident and I would probably jumped on this candle. But it turns out it would have worked, so I wasn't on it though. Pushes down, another break, does a clear break, close outside, and then push down. Creates a new low. It's a first entry short. Actually, first entry short comes here, pulls back, creates a second entry short. So it looks like it's two legs up again, break above the EMA, and then here in real time, I'm not necessarily thinking of going short or long, but it is look like a first entry short, second entry short, bounce off the EMA. This wasn't really a clean bounce off the orange up channel. I did try to draw it as best I could to see if I could include it, but then it cuts through these candles. If I drew something like this, then you can see it's cutting through these two candles. I didn't really like it. I didn't know what to make of it, so I kind of left it alone. Turns out it was a failed second entry short, so it's confirmed, but it is an almost trade because there's no real way for me to know for certain that this would have been a worthwhile trade. So seeing like this, something like this, I would just wait for a higher low confirmation. And you get a higher low right here, but unfortunately it's too far away from anything else. You could take it, I suppose, if you're an aggressive trader, because it's only 6 ticks, but it's also 6 ticks with just enough room for a clean, full 1-point scalp. You could probably push for 2, but it'd be a little more riskier. Prices then move up on this orange up channel, hits this consolidation area, comes back, and actually sets up a possible trade that I actually thought was a really decent setup. Creates a new high. Now, whether you do the count reset or not, let's say you don't do the count reset, you say it's a new high, it's a first entry long, pull back, pushes all the way through. This is a failed breakout of this tiny range, which was very suspect because there's just these really small tight candles. So the first entry long pullback gets a second entry long here. Second entry long isn't a good signal bar, pushes up, comes back down, bounces off the EMA, and I thought this was a clean higher low. decent signal bar. It is a doji, but it's like a small signal bar of only 8 ticks. I thought this is a reasonably good trade. It could also be a visual second entry long, because if you did a count reset here, it'd be first entry long, first push up on this green bar, pull back, second push on this green bar. It could have been a visual second entry long. Nevertheless, I thought it was a decent trade to probably have taken. Fortunately, I didn't take it. Pushes up. It starts to follow this orange up channel pretty well, pretty tightly. Comes back and actually sets up for my trade that I do take. Now, in hindsight, after you see what happens, then you probably would have thought it wasn't a good trade, but in the moment, I thought it was a good trade. So it creates a new high of day, because it broke out above the previous high of day, which was formed in the pre-market, this dashed blue line. Breaks up. I'm not 100% certain if this pre-market range is valid, but I decided that I saw a long, so it's a new high here. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. So in my real-time thinking is it's bouncing off this orange up channel, which has been confirmed. It didn't break through the EMA for the longest time. Last time it was below the EMA, it was way back here, but then it came back, tested it once, didn't break through. Tested it twice. I mean, it broke through, but it never closed. So it's like a third time. I also like that it was bouncing off this orange up channel, which I have a lot of confidence in at this point. Granted, if you zoom in, there is no EMA touch, but it made a double bottom, came up and it closed and made a matching top. So I thought that was a good enough setup for me. To reduce my risk, I took my entry right at the highs, right here. So you can see this little blue dot, entered, and I wasn't going to be greedy because I knew this week and the previous week, or at least yesterday, I was just going to be a little extra careful since the ATR, it was above 2, but I just was thinking I'm just going to try to get the 1-point scalp and try to see if there's a runner. Now, I wasn't expecting much more of a push above this because it failed to touch the other side of this orange up channel. So I went in, got my profit target for the core, and then I moved my runner from below these two guys to 1 tick above break even. Unfortunately, it came back and stopped me out. But I was okay with that. Kind of had to play that and be expecting a potential loss. Not a loss, but a potential runner won't run. Because I think runners usually only work maybe 30% of the time. But if you can get a good one, then that just makes up for a lot of trades. Pushes down. Now it creates 2 measured legs. I also saw this as a, going back to this trade, I saw it as a green down channel break and tested the new low, which gave me more confidence that it was going to push back up. So I was admittedly lucky on this because it could have went south on me, especially if I went in 1 tick above this guy, where this pink one was. Then it's debatable whether I would have gotten out clean on the highs of the candle. But I always usually like to hit it, save myself 1 tick by putting it at the highs and hope that it gets filled. Prices then move down, breaks. I'm wondering if it's going to test the high of this orange up channel. It doesn't. It kind of consolidates, breaks below the EMA. So now the EMA is starting to look not as strong. Pushes up in this green up channel. Then it starts moving. I drew this orange up channel. So now I'm thinking the orange up channel here has tested high here. So it's a break, 2 attempts up, but it kept going. At this point, I was playing with the idea of maybe there's a bigger channel, but it didn't seem to fit correctly. It looks like there's only 1 real touch confirmation here. And then the top side, there's really only 1 touch here. So that doesn't really make a very reliable channel. So I just decided to delete it for now and just trade the shortened trend channel. Moving up, break. You have a second entry long here, but its EMA is cutting through. I didn't like that. Tests double high, a double top here, pushes down, starts moving back down here. And then I drew this yellow down channel, which looks like it's starting to obey it pretty nicely. There was no real clean way to enter this, in my opinion. You do have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Second entry long, you wouldn't have suspected a failure here yet. Then finally, you get a failure here, but it's a little congested. You do have a lower high here, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. The local low is here, so these candles are pretty tightly bunched together. Entering here, you don't afford that much room to get out. So no real setups here. No real safe setups that I could see. Prices move down. It has a break, small break out of this orange, this yellow down channel. Makes a first entry short, pull back, creates a second entry short. This second entry short, so I first initially saw this and I thought, okay, is there a trade here? What I did not like is there is 2 legs up. First, it didn't touch the EMA. Okay, so that's okay. because it's pretty close. The second thing is I don't like the signal bar. It's bullish. So you have a follow through on the trigger bar, which is bearish. So if I saw this, I'm thinking, okay, if I take this, I wanted this one to be red, this green one to be red. If anything, and it's not like it, at least touched the EMA, but it didn't meet that criteria, I wanted the follow through trigger bar to be red, which it is, but I wanted a lower close. It's kind of neutral. So I left it alone, but then it pushed up and moved down strongly, engulfing these two previous bars. And it has an EMA rejection. It was 2 legs up. I thought actually this is one of the second best trade because there's a good trade here. I thought this is also a really good trade. Good signal bar, engulfed the previous, so it's a visual first entry short, pull back. Second entry short. Not only is the second entry short, it had a definitive push up, perhaps people thinking it's going to push back up, flushes down. And then you would have been able to sit on this one, push down. If I was on this trade, I think I would have tried to enter at the low of this candle. Depending on how this one formed, it looked like it would have spiked up, and then I would have hopefully jumped on here, picked me up, get my profit target, would have moved my stop 1 tick below my entry. Then I probably just followed down. I suspect if I did try to trade a runner, if I was on this trade, I probably would have gotten stopped out on this one. Prices then start consolidating. It's kind of sideways price action. Saw a failed breakout here. Pushes down, no clean second entries. You have a second entry here, so your first entry short, second entry short, second entry short. The signal bars aren't good. Kind of really high from the EMA. In the middle of nowhere. I don't really trust this orange up channel just yet. So no real clean setup. Pushes up, breaks, makes a double top. Technically you have a first entry long, then you have a second entry long here. It's not really a clean setup. Nothing really here is telling me to go long. There is a yellow down channel, kind of really shallow, but no clean setup. It's noisy. It creates a second entry long here. The second entry long I thought is a possible trade, but it isn't. It feels a little aggressive in my opinion. It is bouncing off this green up channel, bouncing off the EMA, but this is really tight trading. It's down, up, with these candles within a range of about, I don't know, honestly, probably about 3 points. So to get even a 1 point scalp, you're asking for a big, safe push. And it's already testing the high of day. So it just felt a little iffy. But it is there, and it's probably more of an aggressive trade. Prices then move up. No clean second entries that I could see. You have first entry long. You technically have a second entry long here, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's doji. It just followed two very neutral looking candles. I did see a second entry short here. It's a new low. First entry short, second entry short. I considered it because I do like that it moved up a couple ticks, then flushed down, engulfing this guy. But I couldn't justify the trade because I don't like that this candle closed clearly above the EMA. So it's a clear break and close above. If the EMA, this blue line, was actually a little bit higher and came back and kept most of these guys, especially this guy, underneath it, then I think this would have been a worthwhile trade. Then I also saw this as new high. It's the first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. This is a new high, first entry long. This is a signal bar for the second entry long. It could break through the EMA, has a nice failure here. But the thing I didn't like is it's clearly coming into support here. So to take a trade is risky because it could easily bounce off this support that it had trouble breaking through previously. In this case, it did break through, but you don't know that it was going to do that. Starts reversing back up. The new low is first entry short right here. Second entry short, far from the EMA. It's a good signal bar, but that doesn't fit the context. Pushes up. Hits this consolidation area. You do have a second entry long here. So new high, first entry long, second entry long. It's a terrible signal bar. Follow through trigger bar. It doesn't give me that much confidence either. It does have the EMA holding support, but it just looks very congested. Two side by side. It looks like it's in a range. You have a new high, first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but this is a bad signal bar. You're coming back into range, so it's confusing to try to take a long when you're pushing back into range now after a failed breakout. Kind of comes back down. You have a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short. This is a really small signal bar. It's only 4 ticks, but I would only take it if I didn't have this previous failed breakout, because then I could trust that this resistance is strong enough. But seeing this in real time, I don't know that it might not make another push back up. So it's hard to say, even though the risk is low, it's not a good justification to take this trade. Pushes down. It kind of forms what I think is this transparent down channel, but it doesn't really help. And it's really close to the end of the day now. So it's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, no clean setup, first entry visual short, second entry pushing down. I don't really like anything here. It's also running into the last 10 minutes of the day. So overall, it was a little easier, less choppy than it was yesterday. The price action was more smooth for sure compared to like yesterday where it was just all over the place like that. I mean, this is just really hard to trade. This is a little bit more deliberate, more clean movement. And I'm pretty happy with my just one trade, but I think there were two additional trades that if I was more on top of my game, it would have been worthwhile to quickly jump on. So hopefully that was helpful.